Shalom Israel, Shalom, Shalom. Brother Naquam, watching for Israel, coming back at you with these precepts and another cold cut, giving, of course, all honor and glory to Yahweh by Shema Mashiach Malak Yahushua. Double honor to the elect elders of the house of David. So, like it has been in this truth for decades and decades, patiently waiting for the second coming of Yahushua. A hearty shalom to you, mighty men that go out there and labor under the work of the Most High, presenting your body as a living sacrifice and enduring all things for the elect's sake. A shalom to the men that may not be out there on the highways and byways, but they're working on it. They're getting built up in the spirit. They're praying, fasting, studying, and abiding in the will of the Lord. And last but not least, shalom to the Akwak out there. They're sincere sisters out there who reverence their husbands and are submissive, keep the commandments, and abide in the will of the Lord. Shabbat shalom or Shabbat shalom, right, to the 12 tribes scattered abroad. This early morning history, prophecy, and geography, touching on the Valley of Jehoshapat, Armageddon, and World War III weapons. All right, and I'm gonna kick it off with the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter, right? Because we're gonna go and touch on the various locations and battles where World War III will be taking place at. We'll touch on the different weapons that the Bible breaks down. We'll go through the terminology and we'll link it up with the modern day, words. We'll go to like I said, where these locations will be and the process or sequence of events on how this thing is going to go down. So I want to kick it off with the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right. So let's kick it off with the book of Joel, chapter 3, and I'm going to start at 9. All right. Let's read the book of Joel, chapter 3, and we'll start at 9. And it reads, "Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare war, wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up." So the Most High has a spirit out there for the nations to get ready for war, right? You had ancient wars. You had the Third War of Coalition. You had the 100 Years War. You had the War of 1812, World War I, World War II. But this final war is going to be the war to determine or to end all wars. There will not be another war after this final war. And you can see that Yahushua prophesied of World War III, of Armageddon, the Valley of Jehoshapat or Jehoshapat that we're going to read about, in the scriptures. All right, real quick, let's go to Matthew chapter 24, because that would be one of the signs of the second coming of Yahushua. All right, and shalom to everybody on the live. All right, most High willing, you having a beautiful Sabbath. All right, Matthew chapter 24 and verse 6. Now, these are one of the signs of the end of the world. Right, and it's a classic. It reads, "And ye shall hear of wars and the rumors of wars. See that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet." And that's why you hear about these, you hear about India and China having border conflict, man, which are really Moabites and Elamites, being politically. If you go out there and you having a social, discourse with people, or you are having a so-called worldly conversation, and you speak about the Moabites and the Elamites going to war, people are going to look at you sideways, man. Moabites, Elamites, but they really don't know what's going on, man. That's the biblical name of the so-called Chinese, man, and the East Indian, man. They've been having border conflicts for centuries, but now it's escalated. You have Russia, right? For those that don't know, and I'm gonna try to pull up a lot of, now for sake of time, I want to get this done for the Sabbath service. You have Russia. I'm gonna pull this up that you can see. Bear with me. It just did a Slovakia. It just had they have the satellite so-called. Let's see if I can get this. All right, they call it the Star Wars missile. All right, let me pull this up real quick, man. And pull this up on the screen. Now these are all part of wars and rumors of wars, and that's why you have to watch. That's what the Lord is adamant on. By you're not going to know what time you're living, or you're not going to know the sequence of events. You're going to be lost. Now this is about this July 24th, 2020, right? It's yesterday. It reads, "Russia's Star Wars missile could cripple UK. MPs warn." You see that? So Russia, they have something called the Star Wars missile, right? Because World War III, it has 3 locations. I'll put it like that. Now World War III, so Jake don't get sick, but it's going to be fought over the 4 corners of the earth. But the main three locations, the final three battlefields for World War III is going to be Armageddon, Jehoshaphat, and of course, I'll put that location in the heavens, the firmament. You'll have the war going on in the heavens, right? Which will be an aerial battle over Jehoshaphat, Armageddon, and other parts of the so-called Near East. But World War III will be taking place over the whole earth. That's why if you go to Matthew chapter 24, you're going to have bombs being dropped in the land of Ham, right? Missiles hitting Australia. You're going to have missiles hitting the European Union that we can go to and revelate, or Europe and Revelation 9, you know? I'm going to pull this back up. Bear with me 1 second. Salakia. All right, I'm going to pull this up. Now, this Matthew, real quick, chapter 24. Let's go back to Matthew chapter 24. Just to read about the powers of the heavens being shaken. And the powers of the heavens are the different kingdoms. All right, and we're gonna go through this article. And we're gonna go back to Joel the 3rd chapter. We're gonna pull up some prophecy, early morning history and prophecy. All right, this is more so a prophetic lesson. Matthew chapter 24 and verse 29. Right, Matthew chapter 24 and 29. Immediately after the tribulation of those days, that tribulation, like we always go into, is Jacob's trouble. Salakia. Shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heaven shall be shaken. So the stars falling from heaven are missiles like the Russian Star Wars missile. The Satan 1, the Satan 2, you know, the mother of all bombs. These are different weapons, even biological warfare. These are different weapons that's going to be used in World War III. Now, John called it stars falling from heaven. And as these stars fall from heaven, it would be a direct result of the powers of the heavens being shaken. What are the global powers today? Russia, China, the United States, the European Union, you know, Iran, all right, the land of Israel, or the state of Israel, right? These are the powers of the heavens, and they're going to be shaken when these missiles begin to hit the earth. And I'm going to pull up why John called these stars falling from heaven. All right, let's read on. It says Russia's Star Wars weapon could cripple the UK system. MPs have warned. Let me see if I can make this a little larger. MPs have warned. Bear with me. Slovakia, as they called on the defense secretary to set out a strategy to counter it. Tobias Elwood, who chairs Common Defense Committee, warned against the weaponization of space, right? Because back then they fought with spears, you know, swords, shields in the ancient world. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 9 and 6. Back then they fought with bayonets, and it was physical, man. It was bloody, and you actually had to know how to fight, man. Hand-to-hand combat. You had to know every military soldier was highly operated in hand-to-hand combat, right? Let's go real quick before we go to Isaiah 9. Let's go to Psalm chapter 144 and 1. That's why David said this. Psalm chapter 144 and 1. Blessed be the Lord my strength, which teacheth my hands to war and my fingers to fight. So the Most High is a man of war to the point we taught David hand-to-hand combat, man. David knew jujitsu. David knew submission techniques. He knew how to throw haymakers. David knew how to fight with weapons. So back then you had weapons because technology didn't advance to the point where it is now. When you had hand-to-hand combat, you had swords and shields and bayonets. Then in process of time, you had the invention of gunpowder. You know, now don't credit that to the so-called Moabites, but gunpowder been around. Then you had gunpowder, which led to Gatling guns and revolvers. You know, then you eventually end up getting artillery, you know, like rifles, you understand, and pistols and things of that nature, sniper rifles, shotguns, you know. Now, in today's society, you have drones, and you have what we call now the weaponization of space. You know, it says he warned that allowing Russia to develop weapons in space could lead the GPS system open to attack. Every aspect of our lives is reliant on GPS. Right? Because man is simple now, you know. Payment systems, agriculture, machinery, modern industries, and defense. The conservative MP said, adding, the loss of GPS will cripple navigation. It comes after Britain and America, which are allies for now, accused Russia of launching a projectile with the characteristics of a weapon, which could pose a threat to Western satellites. All right, Mr. Elwood will write to Defense Secretary Ben Wallace, asking him to recognize this development must be front and center of an integrated review. So what's going on is they had this Star Wars missile, right? And that's why John said, and Russia is always in the forefront of technological advances for World War III, man. And that's why they're going to be the ones that come out at the end of this thing, man, in World War III. If it wasn't for the Lord, Yahweh Bashmi Shai, Russia would be the new world power, man. It's like I typed in Start missile. I should have typed in Star Wars missile. Right? See if we can get some images on that. Bear with me. All right, Russian Star Wars missile. Right? So they have these are some of the weapons that are going to be used in World War III, man. Right? The Star Wars missile. Right? And the Lord made these weapons. Right? The so-called white man didn't, and this is what they plan. Check this out. This is so-called space. They plan on sending these ships out in so-called outer space and fighting against the Lord, man. Advanced concussion missiles, you know. So these are the weapons, or a few of the weapons, or one of the weapons rather, that will be used in World War III. Right? You have all of these different weapons up here in the heavens, and see how high they are above the firmament to try to fight against Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, also known as the arrows of the Lord. Let's go to Psalms chapter 7. Right, I want to go back to Joel, but let's get this real quick. Let's go to Psalms, the 7th chapter. All right, this Psalms chapter 7 and verse 12. If he turn not, he will whet his sword, meaning sharpen his sword. He hath bent his bow and made it ready. Because back in the ancient world, you have a bow, you have your quiver, you take the arrows out, and you'll launch your arrows off of the bow. In today's society, you have these missile pads, these launch pads. They represent the bow. And the arrow is the missile that comes out from that launch pad. You know? And I'll see if I can pull up a picture of that real quick just to show you that, man. But you have these called the arrows of the Lord, right? It says, Psalm chapter 7 and 13, he hath also prepared for him the instruments of death. He ordained his arrows against the persecutors. So the Most High has these arrows that are set up. Now, it's not talking about physical arrows. It's speaking about these weapons that are going to be used in World War III, right? I want to show you why John actually called, it's like in Matthew, Anderson, John, actually called these missiles stars, man. Because if you were in the ancient world, and if you were looking up in the firmament, and you saw these missiles going to and fro through the firmament, you might have actually thought that these were actual shooting stars, right? Due to the amount of light that is on these missiles as they're going through the air. All right, let's see if we can pull that up. All right, bear with me. Lock here. I'll just type in I'll see if I can get something out of ICBM missile in the air and see if we can get something out of this. All right. So when you look this thing up, it looks like stars falling from the heavens. And this is the main weapon. You'll have guns used in World War III, you know. You'll have those things being documented. But the main thing you'll have are these missiles, right? You'll have planes, helicopters. All right. Just for you. Pull this up. Now, this is a U.S. ICBM missile test, right? The Minuteman III missile successfully launched from Vandenberg Air Forces. Check this out. Now, this actually, before I even press play, it looked like a star up there, man. So that's why Matthew and John, when they wrote these things down, and other apostles, and other prophets, they said that this thing looked like a star from heaven.
Will this stop a North Korean attack? The U.S. Air Force has successfully test-launched an intercontinental ballistic missile from California on Wednesday.
So John thought that that was a star. And like I said, if you didn't know any better, if nobody told you, even in today's time, that that's an ICBM missile, an intercontinental ballistic missile being launched, then you might have actually thought that that was a star. You might have kind of, if you was in the world, you with your son, your kid, go make a wish on that star. They go look as a shooting star. Right, but let's finish this.
Wednesday. However, a military spokesman said it was not a response to recent North Korean actions. The LGM-30G Minuteman III is currently the only land-based ICBM in service in the United States.
See, this is the only land-based ICBM missile that is used in Babylon the Great. All right, let me see if I can turn this volume up. All right, bear with me.
In the United States, it is capable of carrying only land.
Salakia.
The LGM-30G Minuteman III is currently the only land-based ICBM in service in the United States. It is capable of carrying multiple nuclear warheads. The missile has 3 stages of solid propellant rocket engines. The re-entry vehicle is launched along with decoys and chaff that are designed to confuse defense systems. Multiple warheads then strike different targets. An unarmed Minuteman III missile was launched at 2:10 a.m. Pacific Time from Vandenberg Air Force Base in California. It flew about 4,200 miles to the Kwajalein Atoll in the Marshall Islands. North Korea fired its Hwasong-14 intercontinental ballistic missile on July 4th, while another ICBM-10...
See, and it actually looks like an arrow, man. You see that?
...was conducted last week. Don't let YouTube ad bots...
All right, so that's pretty much that, man. You saw the missile that Babylon the Great has. That's their landmine, or land missile, rather. That's so-called World War III, right? Now, so I can bear with me. Like the brother said, from Jay Sakura Cage, and this video is like 2 years old. Imagine what they have now. Right. That video is from what, 2018, 2017? Let's go to the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter. All right, let's read about this. All right, let's go to Revelation, the 9th chapter, and read about those missiles. All right, because the Bible mentions everything. The Bible leaves no stone unturned. The scriptures, they cover the time of Moses. They speak about hurricanes. The Most High speaks about earthquakes, wild beasts, the ants, serving the Most High, keeping the commandments, prophecy, history. Everything is mentioned in the word, man. So you don't think the missiles, right? Babylon the Great, Russia is going to be found in the Bible? All right, it is. Let's go to Revelation 9th chapter. All right, this is Revelation chapter 9, and I'll read 14. Right, this is Revelation chapter 9 and 14, and it reads, I'll start at 13, Salakia. Revelation chapter 9 and 13. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High. Now, the 6th angel sounded. It's the 6th trumpet that's being sounded when the seventh seal is open. You have a process of 7 seals that have to be opened. All right. Right now, we're in the 4th seal. Then, during the time of Jacob's trouble, it's going to be the 5th seal. During the time of the 6th seal, World War III is going to be kicking off. During the time of the 7th seal, you will have World War III being ended. All right, with the 7 trumpets being loosed consecutively, back to back to back to back. All right, until the 7th seal is open, when the mystery of the Most High is finished. All right, so let's read that again. Revelation chapter 9 and 13. And the 6th angel sounded, and I heard a voice from the 4 horns of the golden altar, which is before the Most High, saying to the 6th angel which had the trumpet, loose the 4 angels which are bound in the great river Euphrates. So there's actually 4 angels that are locked up, man, in the river Euphrates. And this is not because they transgressed against the Most High. It's not because they sinned and they had a council. It's like to take over the Lord's throne. That's what they teach in the church. These angels are strictly there because the Most High created them to be there. The Most High chose them to be there. right? He said in Sirach chapter 39 and 28 that there be spirits that are created for vengeance, which in their fury lay on sore strokes. So do you have actual angels that are in the river Euphrates right now? And you can't see them. You can't go deep sea diving in the Euphrates River that's being rapidly dried up to see those angels. You can't take a submarine and see that. You can't have night vision goggles, right, and see those angels down there, right? You have to have a high level of the spirit to be able to say, look, these are these four angels bound in a great river Euphrates. And they've been there since the beginning of creation, right? And they're there for a strict purpose. Let's read on. Verse 15. And the four angels were loosed. So the angels began to be loosed, which were prepared for an hour and a day and a month and a year for to slay the third part of men. So these angels are going to be released to kill a certain portion of men. They were set up for an exact day and time just to destroy man. All right, reading on. Verse 16. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. So you have over 200 million, right? Horsemen, and John heard the number of them. And you're going to find out that these aren't actual horsemen. You're going to find out that this is all John, the Revelator, describing the missiles that are going to be used in the Valley of Jehoshapat and Armageddon and in World War III. All right, let's read that. And the number of the army of the horsemen were 200,000, and I heard the number of them. And thus I saw the horses in the vision, and them that sat on them, having breastplates of fire, and of jacinth and brimstone. And the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, and out of their mouths issued fire and smoke and brimstone. By these three was the third part of men killed, by the fire, by the smoke, and by the brimstone which issued out of their mouths. So if you read that literal, you might have actually, if you look this up, let's see what these scholars say about Revelation 9 and 17. Right? I want to see what they actually think this is talking about, man. Right? Because they may say that these are actual angels, or these are some creatures that the Most High created, that we don't know about. Right? Let's see. Yeah, this is madness, man. Let me pull this up on the screen. This is what they believe Revelation 9 is talking about. See, lions breathing out fire with a horse head and actual angels riding upon them. Is that what John saw? Did John actually see a horseman with a scar face, looking like the villain from He-Man, with a sword in his hand, and a lion breathing out fire? That's not what John saw. Because whoever created that image, they don't understand prophecy. Right? They fail to realize here's another image. Right? This is what they actually believe is going to hit the earth, man. That's why you got to come out of this Christian church, because this is not what's happening. You're not going to have 200 million of these things hitting the earth, man. Right? This is a creature. The Lord said that there is one flesh of beasts, man. One flesh for horses. One flesh for fish. One flesh for fowls, man. So the Most High never intermingled species. That's 1 Corinthians, the 15th chapter, 38 on down. So if we know that this is not what the Lord is speaking of in Revelation 9 and 17, we'll read Revelation 9 and 17 again and give you the actual vision of what John saw to the best of our ability. All right, Revelation chapter 9 and 17. And thus I saw the horses in the vision. Now he calls these missiles horses. Why does John call them horses? Because horses are equated with power, might, and strength in battle. Right? How do you know that? Let's go to the book of Job. Right? Let's prove that. All right, let's prove that in the book of Job. Slakia. That's why he called these horses. You have to go precept upon precept, line upon line. All right, we're in the book of Job, chapter 39, and verse, let's see, 19. Right, this is the book of Job, chapter 39 and 19. Hast thou given the horse strength, Hast thou clothed his neck with thunder? Canst thou make him afraid as a grasshopper? Meaning, no, horses are mighty creatures. They're the only animals the Most High made that are always going to war. Right? The Lord don't take dogs to war. The Most High don't take tigers to war. The Most High, he takes horses to war, man. Horses are known for always being cladded with armor, going to war, and going down in a day of battle. Right? Reading on. He paused in a valley and rejoiceth in his strength. He goeth on to meet the armed men. He mocketh that fear and is not affrighted. Man, horses don't give a damn, man. You watch these old ancient movies, how you got these horses going to war. Hey, they don't turn around and say, these men got swords. Oh, that one, look at that one. The other horse talked to that one. Look, he got armor on. Hey, horses, they got armor on. And the horses believe that they could win the battle. They're a war creature that the Most High has made. Right? That's why John is given that same vibration on these missiles, because they're moving in the manner of horses that go to battle. Strength, you understand, in rank and then file. All right, and in order. That's why it says he goeth on to meet the armed men. Job 39 and 23 or 22. He mocketh that fear and is not affrighted, neither turneth he back from the sword. So going back to Revelation 9 and 17, John said, I saw the horses in the vision because they're moving in war formation and they're used as instruments of World War III, right? And them that sat on them having breastplates of fire and the jasting and brimstone. And like if we pull this image back up, let's see if we can get this image back from the beginning. Bear with me. See if I can show. Okay, the screen is showing.
Korean attack.
And we'll show you the breastplates of fire, jasting and brimstone.
The U.S. Air Force has
See, that's the fire right there that John saw. It was covered with fire. Go on.
successfully test launched an intercontinental ballistic missile from
That's the brimstone, right? You can see the brimstone coming from it.
California on Wednesday. However, a military spokesman said it was not a response to recent
That's why he said it was clothed with fire and brimstone.
North Korean actions. The LG
And he also said jasting, which is a metal, because John couldn't describe what these titanium was. John didn't say, man, that was made of aluminum, you know, or that was made of titanium, like I said, or some form of a metal right there. He just chalked it up to jasting, man. He saw the exterior of these missiles, and as they were launching, he's describing it to the best of his ability. You're not going to find the word ICBM missile in the Bible, right? Exhaust pipe, right? Propelled in the heavens. John, he can't write it like that, man, because he doesn't know that terminology. So he's describing his missile with an ancient mind. You know, like Yaradan used the example. If you were on the earth 4,000 years ago and somebody gave you an iPhone, you might have called it a damn ball of fire, man. You know, or a box of light, or a box of fire. You know, if you might have saw a car, you know, you might have said that looked, man. I don't know how they would describe a car, man. It might have said a metal chariot, and it had wheels, and a wheel inside the wheel, and it had a metal head, you know. And then you might have read that and I said, what is that talking about? He's describing a car, but his terminology is not the same as your terminology, you know. So that's why they get jammed up, and these Christians actually believe that John saw something like this, some demonic damn artwork, man. When in fact he's simply describing a missile. So let's go on. It reads on Revelation 9 and 17, right? Revelation chapter 9 and 17, having breastplates of fire and of jasper and brimstone, and the heads of the horses were as the heads of lions, because when they take off, they sound like a lion. Let's see if I could make that again.
Will this stop a North Korean attack? The U.S. Air Force has successfully test launched an intercontinental ballistic.
I want to get another video on that just to show you when these missiles launch, it actually sounds like lions roaring. All right. And if you go to those test sites, they'll actually show you that, man. And you'll hear that. You'll have to wear certain audio equipment that's custom made that you don't go deaf. because the decibels are so loud when those missiles are launching.
Ad has been censored.
So John thought that was an actual lion roar when it was taking off, man. You know, you have to put yourself in our forefathers' shoes when they saw these visions. All right, bear with me. Salakia.
Item 127, missile suspension release.
This is a nuclear ICBM missile test.
Item 128, launcher closure door open. Item 129, first stage ignition of missile.
So you can't really hear it. I don't like that one. You can kind of hear it. Or you can kind of hear the sound like a Salakia. It kind of sounded like a lion. Bear with me. I don't know how you do that. Something better. See that? Sound like a lion roaring. Covered with fire, brimstone, jacinth, like horses prepared to battle, getting ready to launch and go to war. See that? That perfectly describes what's written in Revelation 9. It's covered with that fire, brimstone, and the heads that do hurt because you have the missiles that are in his head. And it sounds like a lion. All right? So now we know what John is talking about in Revelation 9. Right? Let's go on Revelation chapter 9 and 18. All right? Revelation chapter 9 and 18. By these three was the third part of men killed. By the fire, right? Because the nuclear destruction, by the smoke, and by the brimstone, which issued out of their mouths. And their power is in their mouth, because that's what's launching that thing to fly. Right? That's what's propelling that thing in the air. The power is in their mouth and in their tails, for their tails were like unto serpents and had heads, and with them they do hurt. So John actually saw that, man. Like if you see a missile launching in the air and the smoke that follows behind it, it may be shaped like a serpent. You see? So we're showing you what John actually saw in the scriptures, man. All right, what the Most High calls the waster in Isaiah the 54th chapter. Right, let's go to that, man. And I want to go back to Joel the 3rd chapter. Let's go to Isaiah chapter 54. Salakia in verse 16. Right? This is the book of Isaiah chapter 54 and 16. And it reads, Behold, I have created the smith that bloweth the coals in the fire, and that bringeth an instrument, or it's like that bringeth forth an instrument for his work. And I have created the waster to destroy. What is this waster talking about? These missiles, right? The ICBM missiles that are going to be launched from these different silos and these missile launch pads to shake the powers of the heavens. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. All right, let's go to Jeremiah, the 50th chapter. And Jeremiah, this chapter is beautiful because it speaks about these missiles, man. All right, let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50 and verse 8. All right, this is the book of Jeremiah chapter 50 and 8. And it reads, Remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flock, meaning spiritually separate yourself from the politics of America, the religion, the lifestyle, the mannerisms, the mind frame of this wicked kingdom, or you will be caught up with the sins of America and burnt into pieces, right? Remove from this place, man. Come out of the Christian church. Separate from being an Islamic man. Separate from going to Catholic mass on Saturdays, man. Separate from being a homosexual. Remove from being a brother that loves his enemy and a sister that loves to oppress him. Remove from the ways of Babylon, man. Men that wear dresses, women that putting on pants, men who want to bleach their skin, women that want to go and join witchcraft, which is one of the growing religions, in Babylon the Great. Remove from the midst of Babylon, man. Let me read that again. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 8. remove out of the midst of Babylon, and go forth out of the land of the Chaldeans, and be as the he-goats before the flock. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. Now, it says the north country. In the Bible, you'll read about the land of the north. But you'll often, when you go into prophecy, you read about the north country. The land of the north and the north country are two separate things. Babylon is the land of the north, pursuant to Zechariah chapter 2, 6 and 7, Jeremiah chapter 16 and 14, on down. But you also have the north country. The north country that is speaking about is Russia. That's the north country, right? That's the land furthest north in prophecy geographically from the land of Israel, right? Let's pull that up on the world map, all right, just to prove that. He's speaking about Russia. That's the north country. Sometimes you read in the Bible of the Medes, the land of the Medes, you know, or the north quarters. Let's see if I can get this pulled up on the map. All right. I want to make this a little larger. Bear with me 1 second. So you have what the Bible is calling, Salakia, the north country. All right. And if you know a little bit of geography, then you will know why it's called the north country. I want to get a good map. Bear with me. All right, bear with me 1 second. So let's pull this up just to show you a little bit of geography in this thing. Right, so here's the north country. The north country is Russia, but Russia has allies, right? Russia has allies like China, Iran, North Korea. So you have the kings of the east, pursuant to Revelation. That's the new Axis power, right? Remember, in World War II, you had the allies and you had the Axis powers. The allies consisted of Great Britain, France, and America. They were the faces of the allies, right? Even Russia. Russia was one of the allies in World War II. Now, the Axis powers, you had Germany, you had Austria-Hungary, you had Japan, you had Italy, man. Those were the Axis powers. Now, in World War III, that same dynamic is going to be put out there. But your new Axis powers or your enemies are going to be what the Bible calls the kings of the East, led by the North country. And your so-called allied powers are going to be the European Union and Babylon the Great and NATO. But eventually, pursuant to Revelation, the 17th chapter, the European Union is going to separate from America and become the enemy of America. They're going to have a neutral stance in diplomacy. They're not going to be allies with Russia and China, but they're not going to be allies with America either. They're going to do their own thing. All right. So if you're looking on this map right here, you can clearly see the land of Israel right here. Slakia. Slakia, see if I can scroll back down. All right. If you can see the cursor, but we should all know what the land of Israel is. This region right here. Now, the country that's furthest north on the geographical standpoint of Israel is Russia, right? That's what the Most High calls that the north country, all right? The north country. That's Jeremiah chapter 50 again. Let's read that. Jeremiah chapter 50 and 9. Behold, I will, it's like it, Jeremiah 50 and 9. For lo, I will raise and cause to come up against Babylon an assembly of great nations from the north country. So Russia and his allies, that's what it's speaking about. And they shall set themselves in array against her. From thence she shall be taken. Their arrows shall be as if a mighty expert man. None shall return in vain. So the arrows of these nations are going to be in the experts, man. Because Russia, they're technologically far more advanced than America when it comes to missiles. China, right? Their missiles not going to miss. We just read how they have these different doppelganger missiles that throw off your missile defense system. Russia has missiles that go faster than the speed of sound, man. These are expert missiles that will not miss nor return in vain. Like we brought out they have this Star Wars, man, the Star Wars missile. you have the mother of all bombs. Right? See if we can get that. The mother of all bombs. I spelled that wrong. Salakia. All right. And China actually has a mother of all bombs, which is Moab. You know, check that out, man. Moab, the mother of all bombs. So the Most High, if you study prophecy, then you know the Lord set this up. Right? China has something which is an expert missile called the mother of all bombs. Right? Let's see if I can pull this up. Bear with me. And Babylon the Great, they have the mother of all bombs. Right? So check this out. This from July 25th, I believe, 2020. It reads an ear-splitting blast. Then it felt like the heavens were falling in. Check that out. So after the result of this missile, you had these Afghan villagers. Advertisement, Salakia. Right? It says an ear-splitting blast. Then it felt like the heavens were falling in. Right? That reminds me of 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter. Afghan villagers described the terrifying moments the U.S. dropped the mother of all bombs on ISIS terrorists. Right? So America, they have their mother of all bombs. And when that dropped, these people said that it felt like the heavens were falling in. Right? So these are the missiles and arrows that's going to be used, man. Let's go to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, about the heavens being on fire. And they actually described it to a T on what Peter saw in the vision. When Peter saw that, because he's from that region too. These Afghans that live in the mountains that still stone people, and they kind of live like Israel, you know, and that lifestyle of the ancient East. They saw the same vision, but they got to see it in person. Peter saw it in the vision. All right, let's go to 2 Peter real quick. Right? Let's go to 2 Peter, the 3rd chapter, and prove that what they saw was biblical. All right, this 2 Peter chapter 3 and verse 10. And it reads, "But the day of the Lord will come as a thief in the night, in the which the heavens shall pass away with a great noise, and the elements shall melt with fervent heat. The earth also and the works that are therein shall be burnt up." So check that out, man. The heavens are going to be on fire. All right. What are the heavens being on fire? These kingdoms. You understand? These kingdoms being on fire. And that's what they describe to a T. Even in the book of it's like I'm trying to close out these advertisements. Pure madness, right? But even in Revelation, the 13th chapter, it's describing these miracles as fire falling from heaven, right? The result of these missiles. Let's go to Revelation chapter 13 and verse 13. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 13 and 13. That is speaking about America's missiles. "And he doeth great wonders, so that he maketh fire to come down from heaven on the earth in the sight of men." Is that not what they described with the Moab bomb? Right? It's like I may have to refresh the page. Right? This is exactly what was described, man. All right, I have to pull that back up. Bear with me. Right, we'll have to pull that back up. You know, with these it's like these advertisements and Satan trying to take away the word. But when we read that, they literally said it felt like heavens were falling in, and that's in Revelation chapter 13, which are the missiles that America's going to launch. Right? Let me read that again. Revelation chapter 13 and 13. "And he doeth great wonders, so that he," meaning America, Babylon the Great, "maketh fire come down from heaven on the earth and the sight of men." So you can't make that up, man. Those are the weapons that are going to be used in World War III. Just a few of them. Mainly that we went into the missiles. Now I want to go into the location. And now I want to also touch on another vehicle or weapon that's going to be used in World War III after we deal with this location. Let's go back to Joel, the 3rd chapter. right? Let's go back to Joel, the 3rd chapter. So you have the mother of all bombs. I believe my brother's keeper, they posted the Satan 2 ICBM releases enough energy to destroy an area the size of Texas. And that's absolutely right, man. They have the Satan 2 bomb, which can destroy the landmass of Texas, man. Right? So about 5, 7 of those, 8 of those, Babylon is done, man. Right? Babylon is done. Let's go to the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. And let's show you where these hot spots of World War III are going to take place. All right. We read about how they have these space weapons, right? It'll be up there in the firmament, right? And this is the only documented war for missiles and vehicles to be taking place up there in the heavens on a massive level, right? Joel chapter 3 and verse 9. All right. Let's pull that out. 9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles, prepare a war. Wake up the mighty men, let all the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords, and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. So the Lord has a spirit of war on the earth, to the point where the weak are going to become strong. These weak nations like South Korea, North Korea, what they call third world countries, they're going to put down the farming instruments that they use, because a lot of those societies, what the world calls third world countries, their main type of work is agricultural work. Whether they work in rice pads or they farm and they have yaks and oxen and things of that nature, and they have pruning hooks and shovels, they're going to put those things down, and instead of them holding a shovel, they're going to be holding a rifle. And it's like instead of them pulling yaks and oxen, they're going to be inside of a tank. Everybody's going to leave the common workplace and be ready to fight World War III. Even these Edomites here in Babylon the Great and you Jakes that work these 9 to 5s, man. When Babylon the Great kick off in World War III and they have a draft, you're going to go from working at your office and your cubicle, and you're going to be working inside of a tank. You know? You Jakes that you wash windows and all of that, hey, you're going to be washing the window off of your fighter plane before you get into it, man. So everybody's going to transform, and society's going to have a shift from having this worker class to the war class. That's what the Lord is speaking about. The working class shift to the war class shift. That'll be the new big thing on the earth, man, especially when these drafts kick off. All right, because nobody wants to fight for America anymore, especially you Babylonians, man. Everybody knows about the secrets of the Illuminati. They know about these false flags, and that America only goes to other nations for gold, oil, drugs, little children, and other wicked devices. So even the modern day people of Babylon, their mind is already to the point saying, I'm not fighting for this country. So they're going to have to force a lot of these people to fight for this country. You know? And that's what the Lord is speaking about. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come, for there will I sit to judge. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshapat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. So the Most High said, get up, right? And beautiful precept from brother Ari, right? Ecclesiastes 3 and 8, a time to love and a time to hate, a time of war and a time of peace. You know, it's a time of war coming to the earth, man. And the Lord said, let's go to the valley of Jehoshapat. Now, Jehoshapat in the Hebrew is Yahweh Shapat. Yahweh being the name of the Heavenly Father, right? Like it, bear with me. And Shapat means judge or judgment. All right. So when you have the valley of Jehoshaphat, that is the valley of Yahweh's judgment. That's where the Most High is going to judge the earth based off of their wickedness and crimes and sins that they have committed, man. The Lord is not going to judge them because they're suing anybody and they have a small claims or they're suing for pain and suffering, right? The Valley of Jehoshaphat is going to be the place where the Most High is going to destroy and judge the wicked, right? Now, here's the ancient look of the Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, here's the ancient look of the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Now, Jehoshaphat was also a king, right? So there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. Now, where's this at? In the land of Israel, right? And it's what they call the so-called Middle East. All nations will be assembled here, right? In this region for World War III. Rather, you're the Russian army, the Chinese army, the Babylonian army, right? The Canadian army, the European Union, the Ethiopians, the Libyans, right? Everybody's going to be in the Valley of Jehoshaphat. See if I can pull this up. If I go to Bible map, right? Bear with me. This will be the main hotspot for World War III. So I can give you a retrospective look on what this valley is compared to other biblical places and landmarks. All right, bear with me. That's why it's important to go to the geography. You can see this, right? This is Jerusalem right here. Here's the Valley of Jehoshaphat by the brook of Kidron. All right. See if we can get something else. The Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, it's a little outside Jerusalem. All right, just a little bit outside Jerusalem. The Valley of Jehoshaphat. All right, I want to actually go back. Bear with me. Wanted to get a good one, good map. Right. So the Valley of Jehoshaphat is actually a little bit outside Jerusalem. And I had a good map I saw, and I want to go back to it. Just bear with me 1 second. Right, bear with me 1 second. I want to pull that back up. Right, this is the best one we can find right here for now. Right, let's see if we can make this a little larger. So you have the land of Benjamin up here with Gibeah, Anathoth. Right, this is Benjamin up here. And there's a border for the 12 tribes where the land of Judah is. You have Jerusalem, and you'll have this Valley of Jehoshaphat. But there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Now, this is a region right here, for the Valley of Jehoshaphat, but you also have Armageddon. Now, Armageddon will be in Megiddo, right? If you look up Megiddo on a map, let's see if we can get that. Right, Megiddo is a little bit northeast of that region. Right, you have Armageddon and Jehoshaphat. So this would be the main hotspot of World War III. You see this? Let's pull this up on the map as well. So you have Megiddo. This is where Armageddon will be. It's still in the land of Israel. And this region right here, you have the Valley of Jehoshaphat. From Megiddo, Armageddon, and the Valley of Jehoshaphat. This region right here, this is where it's going to go down. From Megiddo mainly to Jehoshaphat. All right, in Megiddo, that's where you get the word Armageddon from. Right, and I'm going to go back to that, but I'm going to pull up Joel, the 3rd chapter. We're going to finish that. All right, we're going to finish that in Joel, the 3rd chapter. All right, this is Joel chapter 3 and verse 12 again. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the Valley of Jehoshaphat. For there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow. And a lot of these nations, they're going to have access to this region due to the Euphrates River drying up, right? Once the Euphrates River is completely dried up, the tanks and the amount of land vehicles that are going to be there in the Valley of Jehoshaphat are finally going to make it over there because the rivers and the waters are going to be dried up. Right? That's in Revelation, the 16th chapter. All right, let's go to that in Revelation chapter 16 real quick. And that's going to be the main reason why these land vehicles are going to be over there, man. And that's why you have to go to the maps. You have to go to the geography, right? And make full proof of your ministry. Revelation chapter 16 and verse 12. And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. So the kings of the east are Russia, China, Iran, Afghanistan, right? And I want to pull that up. And they're going to be in that valley of Jehoshapat, in that valley or region of Megiddo, or the mountain of troops, when the Euphrates River is dried up, right? And if you look up a map of the Middle East, right, you can clearly see how these prophecies are happening, how they're going to be in their region. They're going to cross the great river Euphrates, and they'll enter into this valley of Jehoshapat and this area of Megiddo, which Armageddon will take place at. All right, let's see if I can pull this up on the map. And it's beautiful. They do have the river Euphrates right here. All right, I'm going to add this to the screen. Now, I just looked up a map of the Middle East. Right? Now, you can see, Slovakia, bear with me. I want to zoom out. All right, here you have it. All right, you can see this river Euphrates right here. Right? Coming down from Turkey, crossing through Syria, through Iraq. All right. Now, this river right here, this Euphrates River, is even mentioned in Genesis, the 2nd chapter, one of the 4 rivers, or the river that parted into 4 heads: the Nile, the Red Sea, the Euphrates, and the Tigris. Now, this Euphrates River coming down from Syria and Iraq is going to be completely dried up. Because how else are we going to get to Israel? Right? How else are we going to have Armageddon kicked off in this region? How can these tanks cross over here, man? Right? This river has to be dried up in order for all of these commanding armies to be brought over here. That's in the Bible. Let's read that again in Revelation chapter 16. Because we pulled up on this map right here, right, that a little southeast of Jerusalem is the valley of Jehoshapat, and northeast of that is Megiddo. And they have to be in this region. We read that in Joel, the 3rd chapter. But they have to cross this river Euphrates first. All right? Let's pull that up in Revelation chapter 16 again. Revelation chapter 16 and 12, one more time. And it reads, and the sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. And the kings of the east are who? Again, let's zoom out on this. Right? These are the kings of the east: Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq, you understand? Afghanistan, Russia, that's a little bit more east, China. And they're going to be over here in this area. That's why when we go back to this map, in order for them to access this area, we're going to have to dry up. The Lord is going to dry up that Euphrates River. And that river has been drying up, right? Let's see, Euphrates River dry 2020. It's been drying up for the past few decades, right? And these scientists, they're baffled, and they're trying to figure out why is this river drying up. Because the Lord did it, man. Look at this river Euphrates. It's completely dry. All right, that's not a good picture. Let me get a better one for you. All right, but if you can even look it up on your own and clearly see that this river is done, man. All right, it is not what it was. Check this out. Look like a damn desert during the time of our forefathers. You see that? You see this river? You can see these images, right? And this river's dried up, man. All right. So now everybody has access to be able to be destroyed in Armageddon, right? In the valley of Jehoshapat. So let's go back to that in Joel, the 3rd chapter. And these things are happening due to prophecy. So let's read Revelation chapter, Joel, the 3rd chapter again. All right. Let's go back to the book of Joel. You got to go through these prophecies. All right. It's a lot that we can get into, and I want to get to what I can get to for sake of time. All right. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3 and verse 13. Again, Joel chapter 3 and 13. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come, get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. So that's the valley of decision. And you'll have an innumerable army out there fighting in World War III, man. A lot of bloodshed, dead bodies, missiles being launched. You understand? Dead carcasses. You know, planes exploded, blown up tanks, trenches, drones, biological warfare, all in that valley. And they're going to be fighting there till the Lord come back. All right. Now let's go to Revelation chapter 14 and 14. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 14 and 14. That's why if you read 2nd Ezra, the 13th chapter, about these nations fighting amongst each other, that's going to be in the valley of Jehoshapat. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 14 and 14. And it reads, And I looked, and behold, a white cloud, and upon the cloud one sat like unto the Son of Man. Let's see how was shining chariot, having on his head a golden crown, and in his hand a sharp sickle. As we read in Joel the 3rd chapter, that the harvest is ripe, right? The wickedness is great. Man has reached the multitude of their sins. That's what the Lord is saying, man. They have reached the pinnacle of how wicked they can be. Just like when your crops are growing and your fruit and your tomatoes are growing, they can only grow so much. They're not going to grow forever, right? Man has a time limit of sin on the earth, and it can't be forever. There's a time limit for everything. To everything, there's a season and a time and purpose for every work under heaven. Everything has a season. Winter don't last forever. Summer don't last forever. It has a set timeline for these things to occur, right? So even these nations that are ruling, they're going to rule for a season till their wickedness reaches its peak. Then a harvest will come. Tomatoes, crops, they'll reach how high they can grow. And then you take your sickle, you cut down the stalk, and you gather the fruit of the increase. That's what the Lord is going to do. He's going to gather the wheat into his barns, but burn the chaff with unquenchable fire and the tares. All right. So Revelation chapter 14 and 15. So you have Yahushua, a golden crown on his head, and then his hand is sharp sickle. Revelation 14 and 15. And another angel came out from the temple, crying with a loud voice to him that sat on the cloud, thrust in thy sickle, right? Thrust in thy sickle and reap, for the time is come for thee to reap, for the harvest of the earth is ripe. And that's what we out there doing, man. That's why brothers go out there and plant seeds, and brothers water the seeds, and the Most High get an increase. Because at the end of the day, it's going to be a harvest. That's what this whole thing is about, man. Right? Let's go to Matthew chapter 9. This whole thing is about a harvest. Husbandman, planted in the vineyard. You don't plant stuff in the vineyard just to leave it there, man, and walk away from it. You want to reap the benefits of your seed planting. That's why you go out there in the wintertime and break up the ground. That's why you go out there when it's 98 degrees out there and water them, man. Because you understand that there will be a reward for the labor that you're doing. And Yahushua has hired laborers in the vineyard, and him being that I'll put it like that, the husbandman, the landowner, right, of the vineyard, he wants the harvest. He wants the increase. All right? Let's go to that. And that's why we have high holy days like the Feast of Tabernacles, which commemorates the end gathering of the harvest. All right? Let's go to, what was I going to? Salakia. Matthew, the 9th chapter. All right, about the harvest being plenteous. All right, this is Matthew chapter 9 and verse 37. Right, Matthew chapter 9 and 37. And it reads, Then said he unto his disciples, the harvest truly is plenteous, but the laborers are few. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest. So Yahweh Bashim Yahushua, he's the Lord of the harvest, the master of the harvest. Pray ye therefore the Lord of the harvest that he will send forth the laborers into his harvest. I want to look that word up, that word harvest up in a blue letter, right? So we can get out of that, man. Because the Lord, he's the master of the harvest. And our job out there, teaching, sometimes Satan take away the word. You know, sometimes people, they get caught up in the cares of this life and the deceitfulness of riches, and they take away from the harvest. All right, and that's where the Valley of Jehoshaphat is going to take place, right? Or that's where the harvest is going to take place, rather. So I want to put this word up, harvest, in the New Testament. Right, bear with me. All right, let's pull this up in Matthew, the 9th chapter. Right, this word harvest. And I'll pull it up in the Hebrew as well. Right, so it says, pray ye therefore that the Lord will send forth laborers into his harvest. From St. Matthew chapter 9, 38. Now this word harvest in the Greek, therismos, if I'm pronouncing it right, with therismos. All right, bear with me.
Strong's G 2326. Therismas. Therismas.
Right, therismos, which means, check this out. Harvest, the act of reaping. Figurative, of the gathering of men into the kingdom of God. Right, referring to time of reaping, the final judgment, when the righteous are gathered into the kingdom of God and the wicked are cast into hell forever. Right, meaning destroyed. Right, not an actual place called hell. Right, and they're absolutely right, man. Right, the harvest is the gathering of men, which are these plants that were planted out there, and you want the fruit of those men, which are the righteous works. And if you're a tree bringing forth righteous fruit, or a plant bringing forth righteous fruit, then you'll be accepted in the harvest. Right? If you're not bringing forth fruit, what's going to happen? You're going to be hewn down and cast into the fire. That's Matthew, the 3rd chapter. Well, let's get that real quick in Matthew chapter 3. Right? This St. Matthew chapter 3 and 10. St. Matthew chapter 3 and 10. And now also the axe is laid into the root of the trees. Therefore, every tree which bringeth not forth good fruit is hewn down and cast into the fire. Why? Because your fruit is unprofitable, right? You're not bringing forth fruit. You only have leaves. And the Lord, a man that plants things out there, he's expecting crops. He's expecting fruit. You don't plant tomato seeds and then it grows up and there ain't no tomatoes on it, man. You're gonna be mad. You're gonna cut it down and burn it and plant more seeds that are going to bring forth fruit. All right. So if you're not bringing forth righteous works, if you're not keeping the commandments, if you're not studying, reading, praying, fasting, loving your nation, loving the Most High diligently, then you're going to be destroyed and cast into fire. All right, let's go to Matthew chapter 13. Let's go to St. Matthew, the 13th chapter, and 37. Right there, St. Matthew chapter 13 and 37. He answered and said unto them, he that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. The field is the world. The good seed are the children of the kingdom, but the tares are the children of the wicked one. The enemy that sowed them is the devil. The harvest is the end of the world. Let me read that again. The harvest is the end of the world, and the reapers are the angels. As therefore the tares are gathered and burnt in the fire, so shall it be in the end of this world. The Son of Man shall send forth his angels, and they shall gather out of his kingdom all things that offend, and them which do iniquity, meaning the chariots and the missiles, right? That we read about in Revelation chapter 9, they're going to destroy all of the wicked, right? All the 2/3 of Israel and the heathen nations that are not going to be preserved for slavery. Reading on. And shall cast them into a furnace of fire, there should be wailing and gnashing of teeth. Then shall the righteous shine forth as the sun in the kingdom of their Father. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. And that's why this river's drying up. And that's why we're going into this region right here, because this is where this final harvest, the end of the world, is going to take place, right? In the valley of decision. Multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. Right? Let's go to the book of Jeremiah. All right, let's go to Jeremiah. Again, the 50th chapter. Right? Let's go to Jeremiah chapter 50. Might be 51. Bear with me. Is Jeremiah chapter 51 and 33. Right? Salakia. Jeremiah chapter 51 and 33. And it reads, For thus said the Lord of hosts, the God of Israel, the daughter of Babylon, meaning America, is like a threshing floor. It is time to thresh her, yet a little while, and the time of her harvest shall come. So yet a little while, and the harvest is going to come. We're approaching that time where the reapers are going to be here, right? We're approaching that time where the angels are going to sift out the elect from the non-elect, man. And then shall we know everyone that serveth the Lord. We saw in the Malachi, right? Then ye should discern between him that serveth the Lord and him that serveth him not. We're going to find out who's the wheat, who's the tares, who's the elect, who's the non-elect, all in that day. That's the harvest, the end of the world, man. All right? And that's all going to happen in that region. Now, another weapon I want to get into in World War III is also found in Revelation, the 9th chapter. All right? Now, before we go to that, let's go to Revelation chapter 16. All right? Let's go to Revelation chapter 16. Because we spoke about the valley of Jehoshapat, but we have yet to read about Armageddon in the Bible. And they make movies about that, man. You got movies called Armageddon. You know, they made that back when I was young. Everybody, you can ask anybody at the damn bus stop, man. At Walmart, you can take a survey and ask, what is Armageddon? And they might say, isn't that they might say when Jesus comes back. They might say World War III, you know. They might say something like that. They might say, well, that's a movie, but they pretty much know. They might say that's the final battle between good and evil, right? Well, World War III, Jehoshapat, Armageddon is going to be played out in that region. All right, let's go back to Revelation. But now we're in the 16th chapter. All right, we back in Revelation chapter 16. All right, this is the book of Revelation chapter 16 and verse 12. We'll read 12 again. And it reads, And the sixth angel poured out his vial upon a great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, that the way of the kings of the east might be prepared. We broke down who the kings of the east are. The new Axis powers that will be used in World War III. Russia, China, North Korea, Iran, Afghanistan, right? Verse 13. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs. And frogs, what are frogs known for? For leaping everywhere. They don't stand in one place. So these spirits are known as being demons that's issued out from Babylon the Great. They're propaganda, media, wizards behind closed doors that are familiar spirits stirring up the minds of people from one place to another to get ready for World War III. There are actual demons out there created for vengeance to influence man's mind and persuade him that World War III and going to Armageddon is the right thing for their country and their nation. Right? Through Esau's propaganda, through actual wizardry and familiar spirits, through demonology, they're stirring up Russia, right? Through provocations, they're stirring up China, right? With these border conflicts, they're stirring up Israel, they're stirring up the EU, they're stirring up all of these nations, man, with these unclean spirits like frogs. They from one place to another. They influence this nation, now they influence this nation, now they influence this nation, all for Armageddon. So that's why the Most High is describing it the way he's describing it. All right? Because Babylon the Great does deal with wizards. They deal with witchcraft and sorcery on a massive level. right? And I'm gonna prove that before we finish that verse. Let's go to the book of Isaiah, the 19th chapter, and let's prove that. All right, let's go back to that. All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 19. All right, a lot of you people think Babylon the Great is some golden kingdom where money grows on trees and that they can never do anything wrong and that they're the good guys. They went into Afghanistan and they defeated the bad guys that destroyed the two towers, the Twin Towers. You know, they're going up into Iran and they want to set up schools and churches and show them how to be civilized. A lot of you people still believe that, man. You know, America, they're not like that, man. That's why in Revelation chapter 13 and 11, it says this nation has two horns like a lamb, but they speak as a dragon. They'll put up the facade of them being a loving, peaceable country, but behind closed doors, they're violent, evil, sinister, right? Let's get to the point. Isaiah chapter 19 and verse 3, right? Isaiah chapter 19 and 3, and it reads, and the spirit of Egypt shall fail in the midst thereof, and I will destroy the counsel thereof, and they shall seek to the idols and to the charmers and to them that have familiar spirits and to the wizards. So when the Lord come back, Esau's number one go-to plan is, what do we do? Here comes Yahushua and the chariots. Call up the local wizards, right? Call up these scientists. Call up the high priest of Molech, of the Bohemian Grove. Maybe he has answers. Because they have high priests and wizards too, man. Right? There's in the Bible a term called familiar spirits, meaning wizards and witches that are highly associated with demons, and they can kind of conjure up these demons and stick them on people, man. All right, and that's what Revelation chapter 16 and 13 is speaking about. Right? Let's read that again. Revelation chapter 16 and 13. And I saw three unclean spirits like frogs come out of the mouth of the dragon. Now, the dragon in the ancient times, you'll read about it as the Roman Empire. On a spiritual level, it's dealing with the spiritual demon Satan, right? Out of the mouth of the dragon and out of the mouth of the beast. The beast that is speaking about is Babylon the Great, pursuant to Revelation chapter 13 and 11. You have to know what beast this is talking about. And out of the mouth of the false prophet. And the false prophet is going into Esau's religious structure, right? His Catholic Church, his Christian, all these denominations that come out of Christianity, right, which influence the minds of the people. His wizards, his warlocks. These are all an amalgamation of the false prophet. Just like you'll read about in the Bible, the king of Babylon. Not that is one king in Isaiah chapter 14, which is the king of Babylon, but it's an oligarchy, a group of men, right, which come together, which the Bible calls the king of Babylon. When the Rothschilds, the Rockefellers, the Oppenheimers, the DuPonts, they all come together, the Lord titles all of those men as one king, which is an oligarchy, the king of Babylon. Just like the Lord calls all of these wizards, witches, and scientists, and these religious leaders on the left-hand side as the false prophet, right? Reading on, Revelation chapter 16 and 14. For they are the spirits of devils, working miracles, which go forth unto the kings of the earth, like frogs, right? They go to these different leaders, right? And of the whole world to gather them to the battle of that great day of God Almighty. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. So blessed you that keep the commandments, you cover your spiritual nakedness with the knowledge of the Most High, lest the Lord come back and you spiritually naked, meaning in sin, and the Lord see your shame. You're going to be called out there. You have to deal with it, right? You have to deal with the destruction. We should all make sure that we as a nation of people are clothed from head to toe in the last days. You got your laws, you got your commandments, the knowledge and wisdom covering your spirit. Without that, you're naked. And on top of that covering, you want to put the armor of God on, right? The armor of Yahweh Bashmiah to cover yourself with a more complete covering to fight against these demons. and the spiritual wickedness in high places that we're reading about. So make sure you got your armor. Jake, you put on your outfit, you put your shoes, you fold up your clothes. Oh, I can't wait to wear this tomorrow. You walking around with your outfit on, but you don't do that on a spiritual level. You don't sit there and examine yourself and make sure your spiritual garment is on point, right? How you serve the Most High, how often you pray when you fast, how much work you're doing. If you're on fire, you laboring. You don't check your spiritual garment every day. You should do that. Check your spiritual garment every day and read Ephesians chapter 6:10 through 17 and put your spiritual armor on, man. Right? And that's how you win the battle. That's part of the condition of the battle. And that's the cheat code to winning the battle. The Lord gave you the answers. He gave you the tools on how to overcome. Now you have to take those tools, buy them, and apply them. All right? Reading on. Revelation chapter 16. I'll read 15 one more time. Revelation chapter 16 to 15. Behold, I come as a thief. Blessed is he that watcheth, meaning you watching the prophecies. You watching Russia doing these missile launches. You watching the border wars between India and China. You watching the economy collapse. You watching the tactics of Esau and the defamation of Israel. You're watching all these things and you're stand on top of the prophecies. Right? Blessed is he that watcheth and keepeth his garments, lest he walk naked and they see his shame. Verse 16. And he gathered them together into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. Armageddon. Right? Armageddon. Let's pull that back up on the map, man. Let's pull that back up on the map. Now, Megiddo. Right? Megiddo. All right. Even if you look this up, man, it's in the northern parts of Israel. All right. Megiddo right here. North of Samaria. That's where you get Armageddon from, which will be in this region right here. It's not going to be a one set landmass, right? It's not going to be a one set landmass. It's going to be where? It's going to be in this region, man. All right. That's why we brought out the Valley of Jehoshapat. All right. That's why we brought out Salakia. All right. That's why we brought out Megiddo right here, man. We brought this out to show you this region that World War III is going to kick off at. All right. And that's thus said the Lord, man. We brought up the Euphrates River drying up. Now, what I want to do is so I want to go into another one of these vehicles that'll be used in World War III, right? In that region. Let's go to Revelation, the 9th chapter. All right. Let's go to Revelation chapter 9. Somebody asked in this form at this time, is there a chance Babylon falling to be healed? No, it's not going to be healed. The Lord said his plagues are sent and will not be sent to him again. Paraphrasing it. Yeah. All right. This Revelation chapter 9, and for sake of time, I'm gonna kind of go through this fairly quickly. This Revelation chapter 9 and 1, and it reads Revelation 9 and 1, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven into the earth, and to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Now, this star falling from heaven is speaking about the missiles. All right, it's speaking about the missiles. It's not speaking about an actual star that we brought out earlier. All right. Now, when it says to him was given a key to the bottomless pit, the bottomless pit is Europe. All right. How do you know that? Let's go to Revelation chapter 17. The bottomless pit is Europe. Let's go to Revelation chapter 17 and 8. All right. Bear with me 1 second. All right. This is the book of Revelation chapter 17 and 8 to prove that the bottomless pit is Europe. It reads Revelation 17 and 8. The beast that thou sawest was and is not, and shall ascend out of the bottomless pit, this is speaking about America coming out of Europe, and go into perdition. And they that dwell on the earth shall wonder, whose names were not written in the book of life from the foundation of the world, when they behold the beast that was, right? And this beast it used to exist as the Roman Empire, and is not, meaning during the time of John, America is not into power yet, and yet is. But during the time of John, Rome is in power. So this is America, the beast that was and is not and yet is, coming out of the bottomless pit. All right, let's jump up a few verses. Revelation chapter 17 and 11. Right, Revelation chapter 17 and 11. And the beast that was, speaking about America, and is not, meaning they didn't exist during the time of John, even he is the eighth, and is of the seven, and goeth into perdition. Because America comes out of those seven Edomite kingdoms: Greece, Rome, Spain, France, Germania Minor and Major, which is just one, right? Russia and Great Britain. They come out of those kingdoms. They come up those seven, not the seventh. They come out of those seven, right? And America's the eighth. Now, so I can bear with me. Yeah, America's the eighth. They come out of that, and they come out of that bottomless pit. All right, that's why in Jeremiah chapter 51 it speaks about your mother that bare you, right? Shall be sore confounded. Because America's mother comes from the bottomless pit, man. Because America came out of Great Britain, right? This Jeremiah chapter 51. It's like, I believe that's 51. Right, your mother that bare you. 50 and 12, Salakia. Salakia, Jeremiah chapter 50 and 12. Your mother shall be sore confounded. She that bare you shall be ashamed. Behold, the hindermost of the nations shall be a wilderness, a dry land, and a desert. So who's the mother that gave birth to America? Great Britain. Right? And the Lord said, when America is destroyed, even Great Britain that bare them is going to be confounded. Right? Now, Revelation 9 says these missiles came and hit the earth, and it opened up the bottomless pit. That's what the key does. It opens up. Right? Because during this time, the European Union, they're going to get involved in World War III. Now, the Bible's not going to give you the detail on what particular nation is going to get them involved. All John saw was a missile hitting Europe, and all hell broke loose. And now World War III is kicking off towards its end, but Europe is involved in this thing now. All right. Revelation chapter 9 and 2. And he opened the bottomless pit, and there arose a smoke out of the pit, as the smoke of a great furnace. And the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the pit. And that's speaking about the destruction that John saw when these missiles hit Europe. Just like the destruction when the chariots hit Sodom and Gomorrah. It says that the smoke ascended up to heaven like a furnace. Let me get that in Genesis chapter 19 real quick. So they saw the exact same thing. John saw the same thing that Moses saw when he wrote that in Genesis chapter 19. Right, this Genesis chapter 19, and I'll read verse, and we'll get to the point. Bear with me. Bear with me 1 second. Genesis chapter 19 and 28 is after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And he looked toward Sodom and Gomorrah, meaning Abraham, and toward all the plain of that land. And behold, the smoke of the country went up as the smoke of a furnace. What made that smoke go up as the smoke of a furnace? The destruction from the chariots, man. All right, that destroyed that place, the fire and brimstone. Just equivalent, when the destruction hit Europe, that smoke is going to go up like a furnace. Right? And they're going to take action as we read on. It reads, and the sun and the air were darkened by reason of the smoke of the furnace. And we brought out those missiles that's going to be used. Well, I won't pull this up. Slakia, bear with me. Let's see if I can find this and pull this up. All right. See if I can get an image on that, man. To give you, kind of paint the picture and show you what John saw. Right, check this out. This is a beautiful image right here, man. Right, this is what John pretty much saw, man. The smoke, same thing that Moses saw when he wrote Genesis. Right, after the destruction, the smoke ascended up like the smoke. This literally looks like the smoke of a furnace after the missiles and the destruction hit. This is what John saw. All right, this is what Moses saw. And it says the sun and the air became darkened by the smoke of the furnace because that missiles destroyed the land and the smoke kind of corrupted the atmosphere. All right, so let's go back on in the book of Revelation, the 9th chapter. All right, Revelation 9 is detailed in World War III. All right, this is the book of Revelation chapter 9 and 3. And there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them were given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. Right? Now, that's not speaking about actual locusts. All right, it's speaking about these vehicles. We'll read on, but it's speaking about these war choppers and war helicopters that's going to be used in World War III. But the Lord calls them locusts, right? And we're going to figure out why he called them locusts. And these are also key weapons that will be used in World War III, right? Along with drones, fighter jets, right? That's why in Revelation chapter 9, the Lord said he saw a war in heaven. Michael and his angels fought against the dragon and his angels. But John, he's not going to write an Apache, Black Hawk, war helicopter, F-32. He's not going to write that. John doesn't know what that is. John wasn't part of the Air Force, right? He wasn't part of this man's military system to write these things down in detail, man. He doesn't know what's going on. So John, remember, he has an ancient mind. He's an old man, right? He has an ancient mind, and he's trying to describe futuristic events. We read how he tried to describe the missiles, you know? Now he's trying to describe these other vehicles used in World War III, but he doesn't know what's going on. So he said, kind of look like a locust. He's writing it down. What is that? Then they had the effect of a scorpion. He got the pen in his hand and he's writing everything down, and he's doing a good job, man. Like we were saying that the other day, John did a beautiful job describing the destruction in World War III. You know, beautiful job, man. Right? All praise to the Most High for that. Right? Revelation chapter 9 and verse 3. Let me read that again. And it reads, and there came out of the smoke locusts upon the earth, and unto them was given power as the scorpions of the earth have power. And Salakia. Oh, that's a good precept right there, right? From Luke 17, from the brother Ari, 26 through 30. It shall be, or a good point, shall be like the day of Noah and the destruction of men, like the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah. And that's what the Lord calls these days the days of Lot. Right? These days are called the days of Lot. All right. Verse 4, Revelation 9 and 4. And it was commanded them, meaning it was commanded these locusts, that they should not hurt the grass of the earth, neither any green thing, neither any tree, but only those men which had not the seal of the Most High in their foreheads. Now, locusts actually eat grass. We know that due to the plague that the Lord put on the Egyptians. But it was commanded that these particular locusts should not hurt the grass, nor any green thing, nor any tree, but only those men which had not the seal of the Most High on their foreheads. Because when these weapons are used for World War III, only the elect are going to be delivered. Right? They're the ones that's going to make it up out of here. And the seal of the Most High began to be put into full force when this gospel began to be put forth, man. Right? Which is the time period up to 2 days leading up to the 3 days and a half. All right. So let's read on. This is way after World War I. The seal of the Most High and the knowledge of the Lord was given. You understand it? Way after World War I and World War II. This is around 1960, 1970, when this knowledge is being put out there, when people are literally being sealed with the knowledge of the Most High. That knowledge wasn't out there at that time based off of the prophecy in Revelation, the 11th chapter. Right? Let's read on. Revelation chapter 9 and 5. And to them it was given that they should not kill them, but that they should be tormented 5 months, meaning for a certain period of time. That's all 5 months mean. 5 is a spiritual number that means a certain dispensation of time. 10 is a number that means a whole amount. 7 is a number that means a perfect amount. 3 is a number that means emphasis. 5 is a number that means a portion of a great amount, a certain dispensation. Like you read about, and I'm paraphrasing a lot due to sake of time. And Luke the 19th chapter, you read about a man giving 10 cities. Then I have a man giving 5 cities. And Isaiah the 19th chapter, you read about man or 5 cities speaking the language of Canaan, which are a certain amount of brothers coming back to the Most High. Right there, you have 5 wise virgins, 5 foolish virgins. So 5 plays a big role in prophecy too, if you understand biblical numerology on the right hand side. So when it says these weapons will torment men 5 months, they're going to be causing hell on the earth, but till Yahweh Shai comes back, right after the 5 months, you can understand. Reading on. And their torment was as the torment of a scorpion when he striketh the man. And in those days shall men seek death and shall not find it, and shall desire to die, and death shall flee from them. Right? And that's speaking about biological warfare, the destruction that these war helicopters and Apaches and different aerial vehicles are going to put on the earth. Right? That's why the effect of a scorpion when he strikes a man. What's the effects of a scorpion when he strikes a man? You don't immediately die. Right? When a scorpion strikes a man, it's similar to like a snake, man. You get poisoned, you choke up, you understand? You foam at the mouth, paralyzed. So there are certain weapons that are going to be used in World War III that have the effects of a scorpion. You understand? All right, reading on. That's why it says, and in those days shall men seek death and not find it. Because if you get bit by or you get stung by a scorpion, you may want to die. The pain may be there, right? But you may not die. You know, so there are certain things that John saw emitting from these vehicles that have men bugging out to the point where they want to die, but they're not going to die. Right? Reading on. And the shapes of the locust were like unto horses prepared unto battle, right? Because they move in a military formation, and on their heads were as if were crowns of gold, and their faces were as the faces of a man. So what John saw was he saw men inside of these war helicopters. Right? Let's see if I can pull this up. Right? That's why he said, and the shape were like the shapes of a locust. Because if you were to see a plethora of war helicopters from a distance, you might have thought that they was locusts, man. Remember, John does not know what these things are. Right? From a distance, John said, these things that's flying, and they kind of resemble locusts, man. If you really look at them, you know, if you look at locusts flying, see if I can get up close. Right? If you look at locusts flying, it's pretty similar to these helicopters, man. Let's see if I can get something a little up close. Right? I want to see if I can get something, you know, but they pretty much look identical, especially with the wings. I'll see if I can get one flying. Where I want to get one in midair. If I can get one flying, you can pretty much see it. All right, bear with me. I'll just do flying. All right. So here you have it, man. Right? John actually saw these locusts flying, man. You know? And he kind of thought that it was he thought that these were actual locusts. But it's resembling a helicopter with the wings, right? And the sound that they make. If you saw a fleet of or a swarm of locusts, right? They pretty much make the same sound as a helicopter. All right, but on a smaller level. You have these locusts flying, you have these helicopters flying. All right, bear with me. Let's see if we can get a fleet of helicopters. All right, just to show you. Let's see, bear with me. Check this out. And you can see why John called these vehicles locusts.
Are you
All right, remember, John didn't know what was going on. All right, he's doing his best. He's doing his best to break these things down for our learning through the Spirit, huh? So check this out. See if I can fast forward. See that they sound like a swarm of locusts, man. So of course John thought that these were locusts. I mean, look at them, man. Look at them. How could you not think that these were locusts in your mind 2,000 years ago? Look at them flying. Like horses marching, like they ready for battle. Right? And it said, bear with me, in Revelation 9, and on their heads was like the crowns of gold, because John can actually see the power of these helicopters, right? Like even the helmets on the men. And on their, it's like in their faces, whereas the faces of men, because there's a man that pilots, that operates. You can see through the window and see the man operating these helicopters. It says, and they had the hair as the hair of a woman. You can see the propeller, like an Eve hair, man. You know, kind of glowing and shining above her head. John can't say that's a propeller. He don't know that, right? And their teeth were as the teeth of lions, right? Meaning how they roar and how they move. It sounds like a lion moving. And they had breastplates as if were breastplates of iron, meaning the aluminum, the metal sheets that cover this war chopper helicopter. John said that that's iron. He wasn't going to say aluminum and titanium. He's not familiar with that terminology, right? And the sound of their wings were as the sound of chariots and many horses running to battle. So check that out, man. And that's what this sound like many locusts and horses running to battle. So John saw these vehicles that's going to be used in World War III. Oh, Salakia, I didn't show the screen. Salakia, bear with me. Let me show that again. I thought I was showing the screen. Right, these are the war helicopters, and this is how they're similar to locusts right here. Right, and here's the video, right, on how John saw these things, man, flying. All right. See that? So they look like locusts from a distance, right? John was pretty much on the ground level and saw these things flying. And that's how he described them. They look like locusts, a swarm of them coming in. See that? Those are AH-64 Apache helicopters. All right. So that's why John described them as locusts. You see that? So we have to go and break down what John saw and link it up with common terminology. This is speaking about World War III. It's the time of the seventh seal, when the seven trumpets are being opened. You know? So this is prophecy, the Valley of Jehoshapat, Armageddon. I may do a part 2 on this, speaking about when Yahushua comes back and shuts all that down, and other battles that are kick off in World War III, giving all honor and glory to Yahweh. By Shema Mashiach Kwamalak Yahushua, Kwam Yashala, stay strong in the spirit. Most High willing, you are edified. Watch, stay in prayer, keep the commandments. Kwam Yashala, Shalom.